The privately run international monetary system is now in crisis. The desperate financial oligarchy is trying to consolidate a new, worldwide fascism, driven by new waves of terror and attacks to international economic system. We must go deeper to understand this system. We must go to Venice.
In the past, the Venetian Republic was the major sea power and a staging area for the Crusades. It existed for 1,100 years, from the 8th century until the 18th century. The cornerstone of Venice's fortunes was the trade with the East Indies.
In the 16th century, the city-state of Venice could not stand against the new powers that were coming into being in the world. Venice realized that its days were ultimately numbered. To survive, Venetians took several strategic actions. First operation, Venetians brought the newly emerging Protestant powers in England and Holland.
Second operation, under Sarpi's leadership, Venetians launched a fierce war against the Vatican, posing as the bastion of enlightened Europe against obscurantist Rome.
Third operation: Venetians moved financial power and cloned themselves to the North Europe. The Venetians founded the British East India Company in 1600, and 2 years later the Dutch East India Company. The British East India Company became the foremost power in the world in 1763. They moved much of their fortunes north, first into Holland, and then into England. As part of this, they established the famous Wissel Bank, Exchange Bank, of Amsterdam in 1609. The most powerful bank in the world, followed by the Bank of England in 1694. These banks serving as the models upon which all central banks have been established since then.
Fourth operation, Venetians create an incredible spy system. For instance, the agent of Venice Tagliostro organized the 1785 affair of the Queen's Necklace, the scandal that was the opening act of the French Revolution.
Napoleon Bonaparte had been partially sponsored and funded by Venetian families. When Napoleon's ravages had ended, another Venetian man came out, the Count Giovanni Capodistria. Capodistria was a Venetian nobleman acting as a government minister of Russia. He wrote the essential documents issued by the 1814-15 Congress of Vienna, which established the ultra-reactionary Holy Alliance. Capodistria also pulled the modern nation of Switzerland, in part, as a repository for Venetian family funds. Funds that were also used to found several insurance companies in the late 18th century. These later included the Reunion Adriatica di Security, RAS, and the Assicurazioni Generali di Venezia e Trieste. At the turn of the 20th century, the ancients of Venice, although diminished, still commanded important financial and intelligence power in the world.
Venice played a crucial role in organizing the Balkan Wars, which laid the immediate basis for World War I. In the early 20th century, a group of Venetian financier patricians, led by Count Piero Foscari, established a number of companies and banks. Though Foscari was the undisputed leader of this Venetian group, its most active public figure was Count Giuseppe Valpai di Misurata. Count Valpai organized Mussolini's rise to power. Valpai was Mussolini's finance minister from 1925 to July 1928, following which he became a member of the Grand Council of Fascism. He designed Mussolini's economic doctrine of corporatism along the model originally laid down by Alexander Saint-Yves Velvator, 1842-1909. Remember that Alexander Saint-Yves Velvator was the founder of the Synarchy of Empire movement, and the inspiration for the Martinist Freemasonic lodges through which the modern Synarchy was organized. In 1929, Valpai oversaw the famous Concordat between Italy and the Vatican.
By Concordat, Italy recognized the Vatican as a sovereign state and paid financial compensation of 1550 billion liras. Bernardino Notaro was chosen to manage this fortune. No Vatican official, not even the Pope himself, was allowed veto power over Notaro's decision. Notaro established intimate financial relations with the cream of the oligarchy, including the Paris and London Rothschilds, Credit Suisse, Ambrose Bank in London, J.P. Morgan Bank, and the Bankers Trust Company in New York. Notaro bought large or controlling interests in dozens of major banks, utilities, insurance companies, and industrial corporations. He reorganized previous Vatican holdings, such as the Catholic banks, which were generally Catholic-owned. He also promoted a cadre of uomini di fiducia, men of confidence, Vaticanly Catholic or even non-Catholic financiers, who would oversee the enormous new Vatican holdings. The most important of these men of confidence was Prince Massimo Spada, who had been inducted as a Knight of Malta in 1944. Spada either chaired or sat on the board of an astounding array of the holdings that Bernardino Notaro purchased.
Spada sponsored the rise of Michel Sindano as one of the Vatican's men of confidence. His choice was most peculiar, not only because Sindano had been a fascist during the war, but because during that time Sindano had made connections to the Inzerlo and Gambino crime families, for whom he laundered heroin money. We find that an intricate financial web originally woven by Count Volpi and his Venetian aristocratic friends and associates, had grown by 1960 to include Sindano, who financed one of Gladio's most important assets, and the Black Prince, Borghese. Sindano also was one of the channels, perhaps one of the most important, to back up the attempted coups of 1970–74. Sindano sponsored the rise of Roberto Calvi.
Anglo-Venetian financier circles picked up and sponsored Michael Ledeen. Ledeen was directed to Italy in 1965, where he was adopted by two senior figures. One was Renzo Di Felice, Dean of Post-War Universal Fascism Studies, and the other was Count Vittorio Cheney. Vittorio Cheney was a fraternal friend of Count Giuseppe Volpi di Misurata. Ledeen is famous for his 1972 book, Universal Fascism. Ledeen is well known for promoting the permanent war/permanent revolution policies of the recent period's Cheney cabal. Earlier, over the past quarter century, Ledeen was a protagonist of some of the most spectacular intelligence episodes of that era, including the Iran-Contra international gun and drug-running cartel, and cover-ups on behalf of the perpetrators of the terrorism and assassinations that rocked Italy during the strategy of tension in the 1970s, including the 1978 assassination of Prime Minister Aldo Moro, and the 1980 Bologna train station massacre. The writings and career of Michael Ledeen open a window onto what lies behind, and drives the Cheney clique. The desire to eliminate modern states, and any vestige of the real American system, from the face of the earth, in favor of a financier-run, fascist world empire.
Universal Fascism and Ledeen's roots are in Venice. The Venice where the descendants set up their system of usury, manipulation, and betrayal, attempting to perpetuate their wealth and power.